Was there no bell ring?
You just make me laugh.
Well, first, thank you so much for inviting me and having me with you guys to share this sacred space
Yes.
of enlightenment conversation.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like my purpose in life is to provide insight and inspiration to help people reach their goals, release limiting blocks, and expand their consciousness to reach an enlightened state of being through the power of meditation and the benefits of veganism. So I actually love the experience of bringing awareness to the present moment. I feel like change really begins then, like right now.
Yes, yes.
And so I really grasped that I embodied the state of raising vibration and energy in the beginning of the year in 2018, this year, when I let go of my limiting beliefs and I was able to fully embody my purpose and my happiness, and I've experienced so much fulfillment since then, so I just want to share that.
Oh, so honored to have you here. And I remember you telling me on the way here that it's kind of started for you with The Power of Now, that book by Eckhart Tolle. So how perfect that this is now what you help others experience, being present in a variety of ways, even with their food.
Yes.
Not just meditation.
Yes.
And that's something we have to do every day is eat. So it's beautiful. Thank you for being here with us. We've been looking forward to coming together for this show and having so much fun in the prepping process before hitting record. This is intended to equip you, the listener, with valuable tools and tips for raising your vibrational frequency, my all-time favorite topic to talk about and crucially important for where we're at in humanity. The studio space, we've cleansed it with sage to prepare ourselves and our environment for this heart-centered offering. What we're about to share here applies to all people of all faiths, backgrounds, and lifestyles. With sensitivity and compassion, we're going to speak to those first and foremost who are experiencing dire situations, chronic unhappiness, perpetual suffering, those who feel that most of life is just a distraction from an underlying dissatisfaction that seems to block you from your true essence. So in order to help you clearly understand the potential of your own power as an energy being and how to realistically move up the emotional scale, no matter how hopeless or depressed you may be feeling in this moment or at this season of your life, we'll cover the basics here. And then we'll go into as much depth as we can while discussing as many tools as possible during our time together. LARRNELL, Sasha, let's get right into it.
Yeah.
Let's start with the fundamentals for just a moment. What does the phrase raising vibration mean, and what does it entail?
Raising vibration entails attuning or aligning oneself to the energetic frequency of the source field, where knowledge, peace, clarity, and vibrancy exist.
Now, all of that sounds amazing, and for someone who doesn't resonate with that spiritual aspect of raising vibrations, there's so many ways we can practically implement these habits that we're going to talk about into a lifestyle that can create a fulfilling sense of purpose, clarity, happiness, and joy in life.
Yes, and when it comes to alignment itself, it's alignment of body, mind, and spirit is a state of accessibility to the source field, a receptivity state of knowledge and peace and clarity and vibrancy when things are flowing and life starts to make sense. There's a lightness to it. It's achieved primarily through a lifestyle of meditation, relaxation, and mood elevation, which we'll discuss in depth today.
So first and foremost, what can we do in the most extreme situations where our vibrational frequency is so low that we feel hopeless or depressed?
I'm glad we're starting with this first because we've all been there. Think of the lowest times in your life when you might have been by yourself, or you even have the tools in your tool belt, so to speak, but you weren't able to apply them because your mood was so dominant and your frequency was so low, understanding that you're an energy being, so what you were feeling, you were not able to rise above it. And so what we can suggest right off the bat is to know that you're not alone. And I want to mention something from the book Siddhartha's Brain, Unlocking the Ancient Science of Enlightenment by James Kingsland, who says that the mechanism of the human mind is faulty, like a clock running too fast or too slow. No matter how rational or mentally fit we believe ourselves to be, much of our lives is spent obsessing about our social and professional standing, about getting sick, growing old, yearning for more of this and less of that, chewing over our faults and those of other people. Our mind, we know, creates the suffering or the sense of unsatisfactoriness that people believe is part and parcel of ordinary human existence, that incessant itch of wanting more pleasure or more possessions, trying to hold on to some experience while frantically trying to push others away. Suffering, whether it's circumstantial, based on a failed attempt at something or a lack of employment, lack of money, grieving the loss of a loved one, or if it's suffering stemming from a chronic imbalance or an incurable disease, what unites people, it might sound crazy, is a commonplace symptom of anxiety, depression, and neuroticism. So whether or not what you're dealing with is considered mild or severe, everyone has a psychosis of some sort, typically involving those symptoms. And it's kind of a background level of psychological malaise that touches on mentally well and mentally ill. So wherever you fall in the spectrum, know, quite literally, you are not alone. And life has its imbalances. And what we're going to talk about today is how to experience alignment, which is balance, so that you can raise the frequency that you're emitting.
So the first thing I think about when you're saying that is finding a tribe. Mm-hmm. So when you're in this space in your life and you know that you're not happy, but you don't have the tools to change it, or you're not really sure, there could be like a fear of the unknown. And so when you connect with a tribe that's on that same path, it's a support system so that you can transition into your true path more easily and happily, and you don't feel like you're letting go of something that was a construct of your life for so long, and that it makes it more enjoyable.
Yeah. I feel that with you guys. For those listening, I've known Sasha and LARRNELL for many, many years, and they are my soul family. Mm-hmm. They are my tribe, souls with similar goals, where we are really uplifted by each other, and experiences of life are that much richer. And so that's extremely important. And if you are suffering on a daily basis or really unhappy, another thing you can do is to change your environment immediately. Take yourself out of a physical place. Physical places, all environments carry an energy of some sort. You can go outside, you can leave the place entirely, even if you're only able to do so temporarily.
Even situations regarding work life or home life. Mm-hmm. It may not be as easy or simple to leave a job situation or a home situation, but with the implementing the idea of retraining the brain to know that there are more options available, as opposed to staying stuck in a situation and consistently experiencing these negative situations, the more that you focus on what you want to create in your life, the more in alignment you'll begin to get, like, energetically into that path of what you really want to create. And through leaving that situation, you're letting go, opening the space to receive.
And I want to ask you both, before we move from the point of changing your environment when you're experiencing a very low frequency, LARRNELL, what are some places that really raise your frequency for you personally? Places you like to go or things you like to do that just light you up inside? And Sasha, I want to know the same for you as well.
I think for me it's more about, for me it's going out to art and music events, being able to see the art, be able to take in the art. For music, it's just hearing the sound textures, just hearing the different rhythms, and be able to enjoy the liveness of it, because that's something that really connects. And I like creativity, so it just is a thing to where ever since I was younger, I always came to it, and it was something so natural for me for that.
And I can confirm that, because LARRNELL has gone to more awesome events than anybody I know of art and culture, and you've really enlightened me with a lot of genres and things about just aspects of life I didn't even know about, abstract forms of theater and art and things that you would attend that are so exciting, and I previously didn't even know they existed. So I could say that is so true for you, a big passion of yours. And where are places, Sasha, that you like to go that help you feel in alignment and just raise your frequency so much?
Mostly nature. In the mountains, in the ocean, with family, with friends, my tribe, being in new places with new people through travels.
Yes.
That is definitely a really high energy vibration, for sure.
Beautiful. And I love the pictures that you've taken from your travels, because just that is also something that elevates our frequency. Even if you're done with your destination, you come back to home base, you can keep your vibe high and sit there and look at the memory and then reminisce for a moment. And that in and of itself raises the frequency, sometimes just through the photo. And I'm with you. I love nature, particularly nature preserves. Being surrounded by giant trees makes me feel so high. And I love libraries because I feel like I can never read all the books that I'm interested in. There's always going to be more. And it just goes so deep. It's so vast. I love giant libraries all over. Another thing, if you out there are just in a low space in your life, and let's say you can't change your environment for whatever reason, you can change your focus and find positive aspects about your situation as if your life depends on it, because really it does. In regard to your life force energy, the frequency that you're emitting, the positive aspects you come up with about your current situation. If it's challenging for you to do, come up with something, and I mean anything. Really go deep on this. In the eyes of another person, what you come up with could be absurd or seen as petty or fantastical. It doesn't matter. Be assured that this is not a counterintuitive process. If you're experiencing something that is undesirable or horrible, shift your focus and find a positive aspect. Even if it's just one, find the good, list it, harp on it mentally, speak it out loud. You can validate the moment, which interestingly enough actually helps you get out of a bad mood or a situation. I can't remember if it was you, Sasha, that told me one time, sometimes you have to go through hell in order to come out of it, as far as that low state. Oh, it was during a meditation, and you were saying, don't feel like you have to push away a negative thought if it comes through. Feel what you're feeling. You can validate it. Feel it all the way so that you can move through it.
Yes. It's the process of healing.
And in other words, being able to have that connection to where you go through the pain so you can be able to get to the positive light. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Yeah. And I know it's not easy. It can be extraordinarily painful. But you must understand that what's on the other side is so fulfilling, that everything has an equal and opposite. So for the amount of hell or emotional pain, mental turmoil that you've experienced, there is an opposite to that is so glorious. It's like an internal heaven on earth, and it's very real. This is scientific fact, that everything has an equal and opposite. So just imagine what's on the other side emotionally, and how quickly you can get there by applying some of these tools. Also, this might sound extremely simple, but if you're having a difficult time finding positive aspects or leaving your environment physically, you can even go to the dollar store and get one of those like rubber bouncy balls and bounce it against a wall or up and down on the floor so that you have to catch it each time. Because when you redirect your mental focus by engaging in a physical activity, it requires your attention. So it changes your focus, that clears your mental space, even if just for a few minutes. So you can enter the now moment and allow solutions and clarity to emerge out of what was chaos and turmoil. It's a simple but powerful form of alchemy.
Or else writing can also be another way of releasing yourself. Like whatever you have inside, just journal it. Just keep a journal of that. Or else if music is something that you're connected to, just connect with something music. Like listen to some avant-garde jazz or listen to some soft music. Just do something to where it can put a positive space into what you're thinking. Whatever negative thoughts you have, you can put into something else.
Do you guys ever journal right now at this time in your life? Do you do any journaling?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I love how it creates such a fresh perspective of what you experienced.
And you're able to flip back and look through the pages and see your growth spiritually, mentally, If you're on a physical fitness regimen and you're logging that, you can see your growth and the strengths and the progress that you've made. So that can go physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Having a journal, I think, allows you to reflect into a deeper part of yourself that our thoughts don't even get into. Because when you have that pen going, sometimes your thoughts aren't even existent. It's not your thoughts that's coming out, it's your soul that's pouring out onto the paper. And so sometimes I'll write 5 pages go by and I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, like
that was my higher self coming through.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's a very special experience if you really want to connect on a deeper level with yourself. And I think a really big part of this whole conversation, this conversation, is reconnecting with the self. Through societal conditioning, we get separated from the self and we forget that we do have this higher aspect of ourself, that intuition. And the more that we follow that intuition, the more in alignment we can be with our soul's purpose. And journaling is a really great tool for that.
Yeah, and I want to say also, with the meditations that you host, I feel my higher self the most profoundly. The way that alignment happens is like faster and faster each time and deeper. And it's really exciting once you feel that, particularly if you're somebody that knows that there is a higher aspect of your being beyond your mental world. But if you haven't felt it experientially,
come to my meditation group.
Yeah,
Sunday.
that's definitely a way, because it helps when you're in that group space. It's so supportive. And writing in and of itself, if your situation is more isolated, let's say, and all you could possibly do is write, it's very cathartic, and it allows you to create the story of your life, which only you have the power to do. So please remember that nobody else, no matter how influential or how intense their personality or their influence over your life, that you are the creator of your story. And I want to briefly say, in the book, The Fifth Agreement, by Don Miguel Ruiz and Don Jose Ruiz, it's Toltec wisdom, which was the basis of the book, and that's distinguished as the ready accessibility of happiness and love. Very, very simple. And they mention in that book that you create your own story, and you don't want to write the story against yourself. A moment comes in life when you start to see your whole creation from a different point of view. You start to realize that you're the artistic creator of your life. You're the one who creates the canvas, the paintbrush, and the art. Not just the art, but even the tools to creating the art. You're the one who gives meaning to every stroke on the canvas of your life. And that there is a state we can create for ourselves, an internal hell, an internal heaven, letting go of attachment to symbols, even to your own name perhaps. Everything has an association. So when we merge with the infinite, when we merge with what Sasha was saying is our higher self, it's a very authentic state to exist within. You believe in yourself with no doubt, because even a little doubt can end the experience of that internal heaven. You have to have faith in yourself. It allows you to follow your instincts that you were born with. And sometimes that takes some deprogramming or some uncoiling from your conditioning to get in touch with your intuition. But once that starts to flow, you can trust yourself, you trust life, you trust that everything's going to be just fine, and life becomes extremely easy. And that may sound so unreachable if you're in a more dire situation right now, and I understand that. But it is very real that life can become easier and easier until there's daily ease. And we've experienced that in our own evolution.
Speaking of this daily ease right now, I just want to ask you, if, like, the listener, what are your stories that you are telling yourself every morning when you wake up? What are the first thoughts that you think of as soon as you open your eyes? Are you immediately tracing all of the experiences that you had yesterday and recreating them in your head? Are you foreseeing all of the stress that you might have in your work environment the day before you? Or is it, do you create a sense of space for clarity, for grounding, for alignment to become more of a responder to your situations versus a reactor. The morning is an amazing time to really ground yourself so that you can be a conscious creator of your experiences throughout the day. When we wake up and we just rush into it and get into the motion, we forget to connect with that higher part of ourselves. But in the morning time, if we connect with that higher part of ourselves, if we take a moment to sit, breathe, write in our journal, we can write out what it is, the experiences that we want to create, what state of being do we want to be in throughout that day. And little by little, I mean, we may not see a change right away, but like you said, creating this everyday habit, and then it puts the energy into motion. So naturally, you're going to start to realize things in your mind. You're going to be more conscious, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe I shouldn't think this. And replace it with a more positive affirmation. So there's positive affirmations and negative affirmations. And every day, every thought that we think is either a positive affirmation or a negative affirmation. And these affirmations are like frequencies, like a radio frequency. So when the radio has the frequency and it comes in and then it plays out these sounds, or like a TV, you see it on the screen. So these frequencies are our thoughts, these affirmations, and our experiences are what we see on the TV. We create our world. And so by doing this, you naturally start to shift your consciousness into more positive, releasing the negative, so that you're able to be more grounded and connected to the higher self.
Which is almost more of basically we create our story through somebody else's prism rather than our own prism. Is that right, Sasha?
Yes, elaborate on symbiosis prism.
In the sense of somebody else creating a certain structure or a certain story, where we just leap in and jump into.
You create your flow.
In the sense of, okay, we have to be that story.
Yeah, we get to choose. We don't have to live in the constructs of what society tells us to. And that's the greatest gift right now as we are evolving as humanity. Although there are still things that are going on in the world that you see on the news, like those are forced through the media to portray fear within us. So there's this fear-based energy, and then there's love-based energy. And through community, through connection, through our own being, while we manifest this love-based energy in our lives, that's becoming a ripple effect into the planet. So like you, bringing it back to what you said, we have the power to choose to be that love-based energy in the world. And the more people that choose that, every day we're going to be a ripple effect in somebody's life, and it's just going to manifest. For example, random event that happened to me at the beach, going into the environmental topic of taking care of our planet really quick. I was picking up trash. Every day I try to pick up 3 pieces of trash when I go to the ocean. And the lifeguard was there and he asked me what I was doing, and he was inspired and he started picking up trash. So through that action, more trash was picked up, not even from me. So just the little things every day are ripple effects.
I actually remember that from the time period when we first met so many years ago. And Sasha and I went to the beach, and I think that was the day that we were going to do our free hugs and give out hugs to anybody who wanted one walking by. And you were picking up trash that you saw. And it sounds so simple, but that thing just reminded me, do I overlook it when I walk by? And I haven't since then, and it feels so good that one tiny thing that seems so tiny is actually so important, and it triggered something that lasted for years afterward, with me noticing the consciousness of thinking somebody else will take care of it. That's not there anymore. I see something in the moment. Let me take action in the moment. Yeah. And that's really important.
That's really important on a whole nother scale. So a part of my being is strongly believes in the power of veganism to heal the planet for our own bodies, for the animals, and for the environment. And so there's a collective consciousness. There's many collective consciousnesses. One of them is the fact that we don't need to take responsibility. Somebody else will do it. Oh, there's a garbage system for that. Or, like just put it in the trash can and whoever picks it up, they're going to take care of it. And ultimately it ends up back in the earth, polluting our planet and destroying environments and habitats. And eventually that is going to come back to us. And so that can be applied in any area of our life, energetically or nutritionally. What we put out, what we put in our body is what we're going to emit. So if we're putting in low density energy foods, low vibration foods, we're going to be lethargic and tired, and we're going to be foggy mentally and not be able to perform at our optimum functioning. If we put high vibrational foods, we're going to feel more on a state of a higher energy, mental clarity, peace of mind. You feel more connected with the body so that you're able to effectively communicate or effectively perform the tasks that you need to throughout the day. So it's all tied together.
And really, I feel that whether you're vegan or not, it's more about being conscious of what you put in there. Because so many times, we just are not very conscious about what we eat and what we intake. So from that, it can really help the energy be able to be at such a nice level to where you can be able to function in life. Or even going back to the thing of picking up trash at the beach. I have experience with my church to be able to do missions and be able to give back to the homeless, whether it's shirts, food, or anything, to where it's a sense of gratitude. And I thought from that story, Sasha, that you just mentioned, it felt like you had a sense of gratitude for doing that, and then it had a ripple effect. Almost as much as in the past, including yourself, me and Heidi did the free hugs events, and I was telling her that how it was really through missions to where I got connected, because I was telling her if it wasn't for that, then I would have just told her, oh, that's a nice idea. I wish you the best in that, and not really do it. But from that, I found that even when I was nervous, I saw a ripple effect in the sense of I started rising to the occasion of it.
It was a key thing too.
Yeah.
You stepped out of your comfort zone, and ultimately you find yourself years later emitting a higher frequency as an energy being, as a creator being, and you recognized that you are that, dabbled with some new experiences, things that previously you said made you feel a little nervous. But you did it, and now you're a more expanded, open-minded being, and it's heightening the magnetism of ourselves. So if you're listening, there's a couple of things I want to say before we move on. In more severe situations, I do want to emphasize the food topic, and forget labels, forget vegetarianism, veganism, forget the label of it. When you eat what comes from the earth, it's alive and it's living. Pay attention to how it was grown, because unfortunately that's something that we must pay attention to in today's world. We don't have the luxury of overlooking that and thinking that it won't matter. So if you eat a fruit or a vegetable that was modified from its original nature or sprayed with chemicals and heavy toxic pesticides, that goes into your body on some level and eventually has an impact on your health. I remember in regard to when you said conscious morning routine and in regard to nutrition itself, I remember being in a low vibe state in my life and seeing a vibrant person and being annoyed. When I really should have gone up and asked about, what do you eat? What's your lifestyle? Where is this vibrancy coming from? How much water do you drink? And Sasha, if we could touch on for a moment, just water alone. Why is that so important to raising our vibrational frequency?
Well, this brings us back to something along the lines of traditional Chinese medicine, where it correlates our entire being to the universe, to the sun, the moon, the earth, the planets. And so our body is 70% water, the earth is 70% water, about. And so when we consume pure water, high vibrational water, we are nourishing ourselves, we're allowing for the purification process to be supported, because the body does have a natural innate ability to heal itself. And going back to the toxins and the chemicals, when we fill our body with so many toxins and chemicals and don't give it the opportunity to flush out through this hydration process, it just builds up, and then that's when cancer can evolve, or illness, disease. And it's not even just with food, it can be the products that we use.
And please research this on your own, but when it comes to raising vibrational frequency, there is magnetized water, there's high alkalinity water, there is solar charged water, which you can do for yourself at home. There's water that you can charge the frequency of it using orgone plates, these little charging plates. There's so many things that I encourage you to look up to kind of see what resonates with you, because you're replenishing your body with the bulk of what it's made of. And it's extremely important. I really, really want to emphasize this before we move on, that what we put into our body is, besides meditation and relaxation, probably the most important thing, because that's our actual fuel as human beings. And we can't eat any tomato, any apple anymore nowadays. Mm-hmm. So please understand that when you buy organic or non-GMO, you are purchasing a fruit or vegetable that is in its natural, pure form, that was grown more consciously and actually has a higher vibrational frequency to nourish your body when you eat it. Technically, yes, if you were an energy master, you can alchemize anything that you put into your mouth and turn it into pure life force energy. But most of us aren't there yet. So it's important to be conscious shoppers. Have a conscious morning routine.
Really quick before
yes.
we move on, morning routine tying into the water. So on an average, a person should drink about half their body weight in ounces of water a day, and the best time to do that is in the morning. I notice for myself, the very first thing I put in my body after stretching is drinking a ton of water, and I see a difference. I feel a difference. I feel like my brain clicks on, my vision gets clearer. I feel like I'm ready to take on the day, and the more that you do that, and you can even add lemon and apple cider vinegar if you want more healing properties to it, but definitely super hydrate in the morning.
Yes, and to recap for just a second before we get into the triad of alignment itself. So know that you're not alone. If you're in a serious situation and your frequency is so low, change your environment immediately. Change your focus. Find positive aspects. Write it down. Create your story. Look at it. Harp on it. Understand that you are the creator of every aspect of your life and how you perceive your reality. The morning routine is so important because it does set the tone for your day. If you can make small changes, make the small subtle changes, start there. And one more point from the book, The Fifth Agreement. Well, it says, once you recover awareness of what you are, the war in your head is over. And notice I didn't say who you are, because that's an identity construct. It's also called ego sometimes. It's something we create, and we can recreate it and morph it every day if we want. But once you recover awareness of what you are, this energy being that emits a frequency that then manifests physical reality, the war in your head comes to an end.
And really, it brings about the sense of confidence, because every day we always battle in our minds about who we are or what we're meant to be. And I think sometimes it can be the negative side, and sometimes it can be the positive side. But it's like if we have a balance in life and know how to navigate, then maybe from that we can be able to guide ourselves to becoming our higher selves.
Beautifully said. Balance is key. Balance is everything, and balance is alignment. And one step of your evolution to creating your personal, internal heaven on earth is by putting your faith in agreements that support life. Agreements that add to your joy, to your freedom, because oftentimes we subscribe to things unconsciously and we find ourselves on autopilot mode. So what we're doing, we're not even aware of our comfort level at the workplace. We're not checking in with our body throughout the day after we've done, let's say, a conscious morning routine. And the first couple hours, we're off and running. We had a good, healthy, hearty breakfast. Great. But did you ever notice that sometimes you just start to crash vibrationally? Even if you've got food in your belly, you're like, I don't feel vibrant. I'll wait till the end of the day, I'll do something about it that might give me some pleasure. I'll wait till the weekend, I'll do something considered recreational. but are you raising your vibrational frequency by the specific activities you're engaging in?
And when you're in that moment of thinking, oh, what can I do tomorrow, or what can I do this weekend? Coming back to the present moment of now, the breath, the power of the breath, even just sitting there, closing your eyes and taking a few deep breaths in, out, getting connected with the body, really breathing deeply into the diaphragm and expanding the breath, and visualize it just reaching all parts of your body and clearing out those thoughts that are clogging up your mind, and really focusing, breathing in positive things, positive, even if you just go out in nature and just breathe in, looking at the nature without even thinking anything, naturally your energy is going to elevate in that moment.
I had a thought before we move on. Have you guys ever pondered that maybe humans lived so much longer in ancient times because there were, of course, no buildings, no technology, let's say no pollution, if any. So the concentration of oxygen in the atmosphere was so much higher that how could you not live so much longer? So oxygenating the body, let's work with what we have. If we can't change the atmosphere itself, we can find cleaner, fresher places to go where we're away from the fumes of cars going by. Like Sasha and I were saying, we love being in nature, the beach, surrounded by trees. Whatever is your place of peace, you're feeling like you're connected to the harmony of the earth. There is such power in that for raising the frequency that you're emitting. It's like a reset button. Just like you can charge crystals and gemstones, you can recharge your body too. And well, let's now discuss the core ways to do this, particularly through the triad of alignment. So meditation, relaxation, and mood elevation as a lifestyle, not as things to do as a remedial alternative. I'll relax when I'm at my wit's end. No. I'll relax when I'm teetering on the brink of losing my mind. No. We're suggesting this is a lifestyle. And I'd love to talk to you, Sasha and LARRNELL, about meditation. And what can we talk about that other podcasts haven't covered on visualizations and breathing techniques and things like that? Let's say somebody's listening and they're open, they're interested. Maybe they don't like sitting still. Maybe they don't like the idea of crossing their legs. There's a lot of stereotypes around meditation.
It's interesting, yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because my neighbor saw us participating in the meditation groups over the past couple weeks, and he's really interested, and he has no experience in meditation. And he even just brought up the point how he can't sit. He's an older gentleman, and he can't sit with his legs crossed, and he felt like that might stop him from having that experience. But he did a little research and he found a few different meditations. There's so many different kinds of meditations, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. And it's not necessarily about clearing the mind or being in this space of nothingness. It's actually embracing everything about you, embracing all of your thoughts, embracing your experiences, and learning to come from a place of detachment versus attachment. And so noticing the things that you're attached to and the kinds of manifestations it's causing in your life, whether they be physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, and learning to detach from them allows for the space to heal the body in all of those aspects. So for him, for the example, you don't need to sit in a cross-legged position on a yoga mat in a dimly lit room with candles, incense, and sage. You can go outside. You can meditate at your office space when you are feeling stressed or overwhelmed. It's a matter of kind of like reconnecting with that part of yourself, like we talked about, that higher self. So almost separating yourself from your physical reality, but really connecting with that physical and energetic body that you have. So we have many different facets of our human body. We know that we are the spirit, the soul, inhabiting and having this human experience. So obviously we are not this body. We are not of this body. We are in this body. So connecting with the physical body, connecting with the energy body.
Would it be beneficial for somebody to know, let's say they know they're an energy being, but oftentimes through group meditation, the guided meditation, chakras are talked about, getting specific about the vortexes in the body of the energy that comes from the different parts of our body and what it correlates to in our lives. The throat chakra and the crown chakra.
Yes.
Do you mind touching quickly on the chakras and how that relates to the parts of our life? And the reason I'm asking this is also because when we become aware of it, we can check in with our body more specifically and understand that if something's going on or there's a deficiency or an imbalance, we can know what to work on, not overall, but more specifically in the parts of the body.
Yes. So each chakra does pertain to different areas of our body. So the chakras are energy systems. There's 7 main chakras, but there are more. But through meditation, we really focus on the 7 main because they apply to specific organs, colors, foods, and like you said, different areas of our life. So when a chakra is excessive or deficient in its energy, it's going to manifest itself through maybe an emotion or an experience. So for example, the root chakra. The root chakra really connects to the part of our life that has to do with our physical being, so our survival needs, our financial stability, our home life, our work life. And our sacral chakra has to do with our sexual aspect of our life, our connection with other people, the relationships that we have in our life, our creative powerhouse. Sexual energy is related to the creative energy that we have in our body. And
so how sexual is that? Like, how sexual do we actually get in that space?
I think I love when you're asking about it, because somebody said this to me one time. I just thought of that. If we can become more comfortable with our sexual energy, we can start to alchemize it because we understand finally what it is. Like Sasha's saying, it's creation energy, literally.
Yes, and I will share that when you hold that sexual energy within your body, too many times I think in this culture is we're too quick to share sexual experiences and release that chi energy that we have within us. And so when we hold that in our bodies, we're able to build this creative powerhouse. And so I say, like, if a woman has the power the sexual power to birth a child, what kind of creative projects can she birth? So holding in that sexual energy and manifesting that energy into your passions, your hobbies, your creative projects, and you'll begin to see a shift. Sharing sexual energy with people, it drains you a little bit, and so it's important to be conscious of when and who and what and all of the aspects that go into that sexuality.
And this is a big part of when you notice somebody who's very vibrant and you feel something that's so contagious when you're around them. They might also be preserving that sexual energy, and when you feel it, it's kind of like a spiritual, energetic succulence. It's something that's just compelling, and it's magnetic, and it comes from the same place inside of all of us. And it's nothing to be afraid of or to minimize or put on the back burner. I'll focus on my other chakras, because we're a whole being.
Yes.
And when you take that holistic approach and understand that the throat chakra and our ability to communicate, to feel empowered, our ability to create wealth in our life, or loving partners that understand the sacredness of a bond between humans, all these things that most of us want, these come from having an aligned system, chakras that are balanced, and this is a constant, ongoing process, a beautiful lifestyle.
I do want to continue up just to close this chakras so that we touch all 7. So we talked about the root, the sacral, and then the solar plexus is our powerhouse, our soul's purpose. The heart chakra is a really important center for coming from a place of love, healing that energy of past hurt, and the throat chakra, it allows us to speak effectively and communicate effectively and speak our truth and come from a place of truth. And then we go up to the third eye, which is at the center of our eyebrows, which is an amazing tool for creative visualization and using it to manifest the things that we want to experience, seeing it in our mind's eye before it actually manifests in the physical world. No idea was ever in physical reality before it was a thought. It was always a thought first. It was always imagination that brought something into life. So anything is possible when you imagine it and you see it in your mind's eye. And then of course we have the crown chakra that sits at the top of the top of our head. that allows us to connect to this collective consciousness, this divine state of being, our higher self.
And whether it's visually or auditorily guided, whether you try out meditation that's infused with music or totally silent, if it's in a state of stillness or movement-based, there is no right or wrong. Please try out the different ways to meditate and feel what works for you, because everybody's different. If you're in the South Florida area, I do encourage you to come to Sasha's weekly meditation gatherings, because there's such a cohesive, awesome support feeling with that group of like-minded souls, and being close to the ocean, and the whole energy of it is wonderful. And Sasha takes us through all of the chakras that she just briefly described for us. We get to go through all of them. So wherever your deficiencies lie, and we all have them every day, at no point are we ever just perfect. There's always something we're going to fine-tune, and this all just comes down to awareness. So remember that it doesn't have to look a certain way or be a certain way. Meditation is truly a lifestyle, and you can engage in it in whatever way works for you, but it is a spiritually nutritional ingredient, so to speak, to alignment.
It can be so practical too. Even just walking to your car from the front door, instead of replaying thoughts, like you're not even realizing the thoughts that are going through your head sometimes, even just taking that time to deep breathe, just focus on the breath, and that creates a sense of meditation as well, carrying that energy into your day.
Do you mind if I back it up with some science for anybody listening? I want to just be able to address any skeptics, because you are appreciated as well, so we can balance everything out with not just what we know to be true from our personal experiences, our respective levels of education and expertise, but there are new brain scanning technologies. One of them is called fMRI, which is functional magnetic resonance imaging, and it's shown in numerous studies that meditation produces discernible changes in brain activity. When you decide to have a healthy lifestyle, that's beneficial, of course, we know that. But the mental practice of meditation can lead to fundamental changes in the brain that support the new healthy habits. Doing them is one thing, but having something that you can consider a lifestyle that supports all the healthiness, that's what helps us not fall off the wagon, so to speak. When you're like, I was doing so great for that season, now it's winter, you know, you start to become lethargic, and you don't understand how it all unraveled when you had this momentum going.
Yes, and I actually want to touch on that really quick, because I've experienced that really big momentum twice this year already, and then immediately after the momentum was a lull, and it's almost like, well, what happened? You know, I was really high in these few months, and then now this month is like, whoa, like you need to take a break. Everything, I was experiencing resistance and everything, but through the highs, and then when you go through that low, you're able to come at all of your experiences from a more elevated state of consciousness, so that you can navigate through the muck a little bit more easily and more conscious, so that you can get through it and get back up on a high.
I feel my own frequency going up while we're talking about all of this. And before we move away from meditation itself, which I never want to move away from meditation, can we talk about the brain's plasticity, its malleability, how happiness is actually a skill of raising your own vibrational frequency, and when we view it, happiness as a skill rather than a goal, something we aspire towards, we can view it as something that could be developed through diligent practice. So I want to just eliminate any radical misunderstandings that meditation or living a meditative lifestyle means not wanting anything, or being free from desire, or being totally passive in the name of being peaceful. What this comes down to is neuroscience shows us that meditation simply makes people less zombie-like, giving them more control over their thoughts, emotions, and behavior. And we can all agree that the zombie mode is a tendency of our society to function on autopilot, because we have survival needs, and we were born into system infrastructures that are very heavily part of what we were influenced by. It just is what it is for now, and we're slowly but surely moving into better setups meant to support human thrival. But as we move in that direction, back to the now moment, we just can can pull ourselves out of that autopilot mode every day, becoming more aware of our thoughts, aware of just the basic comfort level
I do
inside
want to
of our
touch,
body.
yes, on the practice part of happiness. So
Yes.
every morning I found that this is an amazing way to retrain the brain, going back to the neuroscience of it, to smile as soon as you wake up.
I'm just looking at Larnell and smiling. Just so he'll smile. For anybody listening, I just wanted to look over.
It trains the muscles in your face to respond in a more happy, higher vibrational way, versus a tense way. You know, it triggers the brain to respond in that happier state of mind as well.
Yes, meditation helps support optimum psychological well-being, which then affects every other aspect of our reality. There's so many ways that we can relax, and it's the foundation for vibrational elevation. To raise yourself to a higher vibrational altitude, to raise the frequency you're emitting as a conscious, intelligent being, relaxation is essential because it gets you acquainted and accustomed to the vibe of existence's higher realms. That's what we've been talking about today, that everything carries a vibe, a specific energy, a vibrational frequency. So an aligned person, a habitually high-vibing person, is able to feel the subtle shifts throughout the day and night when engaging in various environments with various people. And so when contradictory energy is present, when you don't feel good, rather than entering into states of discontentment or suffering, or like Sasha was saying, reactivity, we can quickly realign ourselves with our higher, more practiced state of being, which is our optimal health state of being. And one way to do that also, which is great for relaxing and alignment and raising vibration, is grounding and earthing. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the earth actually, so everything's energy. We know this to be true, from the chairs that we're sitting on to the table to our body to the earth. And so the earth on its surface emits this electromagnetic frequency that releases negative ions into the air, and our body receives those negative ions, and it actually promotes healing in the sense of well-being in the body. It actually reduces inflammation, it enhances our sleep patterns, it elevates your mood, it helps to relax you. So that's why we keep talking about being in nature, how it's so important to do that. There's a science behind it. Even just touching a tree for a second can improve so many different aspects of the health system of our body.
I love how nature is in the word natural, because it's all intertwined. It's very natural to be in nature. Mm-hmm. And practicing the art of relaxation while now knowing that it's the foundation for vibrational elevation, it results in the divine design, so to speak, revealing itself inside of you as your inherent, most natural, original state of being, and then emanates from you as a frequency, a magnetic-like force that attracts towards you good, enjoyable, richly fulfilling experiences. This is how reality works, and it's so easy for us to raise our vibrational frequency once we make it a habit. Also, very important, mood elevation. Intentionally thinking about and harping on happy thoughts. We were talking earlier about our personal happy places that help uplift us. This stimulates an internal escalation along the emotional spectrum, activating and amplifying a stream of positivity. So with habitual application of mood elevation processes, or to simplify it, just thinking happy thoughts perpetually for long until you can feel yourself going up the emotional scale, one's own consciousness transforms, and it does create material matter and external circumstances that are then desirable to you. So we're often quick to complain in this world, or overanalyze, or share our problems. But when we were talking about the malleability of us as beings and the plasticity of the brain, we can just as easily practice a more mindful way of living.
Really quick to touch
yes.
on that. I listen to these motivational videos in the morning when I'm walking to the beach, and there was a woman that touched on the topic of the brain, how we have this 5-second window where we know we have to make this decision. The perfect example would be like getting out of bed at a simple explanation. Getting out of bed as soon as your alarm clock goes off. And sometimes we have the desire to press that snooze button. So the first decision that we make in the morning, we have this 5-second window where we can say, I'm going to press the snooze button. Or we can say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and just get out of bed and make all of our choices based on that 5-second window period where we know we have to do something. So in this case, thinking more positive thoughts or taking positive action in our life, just saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just do it.
Yes, these are simple, practical ways to raise vibration. We hope that nothing that's been said here today is out of your reach. And Larnell, you want to help us wrap up this beautiful conversation?
So we've got the keys here to raising vibration and connecting with the energetic frequency of the source field. Alignment is the top way to raise vibration, and the elements comprising an aligned state are meditation, relaxation, motivation, oxygenation, fresh, high vibe, nutritional habits, grounding ourselves to the earth, connecting with nature and community, practicing an intentional morning routine, gentle mental inventory of our thoughts as they arise so that we can redirect our focus of attention when needed, applying conscious languaging, being fearless and courageously vulnerable during the times of need, being of service to others through philanthropy, or a creative initiative of your own.
Free hug events.
Yeah, that's
They're
one.
fun, they work.
Oh yeah, trust me. Doing any form of art and music that lights you up inside, and engaging in holistic healing modalities. There are so many ways to raise your vibrational frequency. It is a skill that can be mastered.
It truly is. And thank you, Sasha, for your presence
Thank
and
you
your
so
contribution.
much. I would just like to share a closing quote
Please,
as well.
yes.
That says, "Be happy with who you are now, and let your positivity inspire your journey into tomorrow."
Thank you to our beloved listeners for your presence and being part of this episode of Speak and Inspire. If you'd like to connect further, our contact info is in the description, and we're happy to support and guide you however possible as your brother and sisters in the human family. We thank you for your willingness to try new things. We commend you for getting out of bed each day and giving your life another go. We salute you for keeping hope alive, for shining your light, because it is needed and it is valued in this world. You are seen, you are felt, you are loved. Until next time, this is it. Here we are.